I'm going to give an intro instead of an outro on this video. In this video you'll see me assemble all the parts of the cabinet as well as what goes into painting them. And that's kind of the bulk of this specific video, is the painting. Towards the end I get into how to mix the paint and how to measure your viscosity and the different percentages and why percentages of paint to water only work on your first mix. The next video in this series you'll get to see me install this at the customer's house, but don't worry, at the end of this video you get to see it all put together and all painted and all done. Also in the next video I'll start out still here in the workshop and go over all the details of what went in to build this cabinet set. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Well, this is kind of the climactic moment to see if everything goes together right. I didn't screw the face frames together for this mock-up. I will screw the frames together on the final install at the customer's house. These four here and over there, those holes will be reused on final install, but I only want to do the face frames one time. Right now I've got to lift this upper cabinet, and that's what these stainless steel plates are for. As you can see, it overhangs just slightly less than 3/4 of an inch here and there. So the idea is I lift this thing up and can set it on top, and these plates will just hold it there while I clamp it and screw it. So I put all the exposed pocket holes in places that you can't really see them. This shelf here, I believe it's just about 6 feet, a little over 6 feet, so your eyes aren't really going to be looking down on it. But I'm going to plug all these pocket holes with pocket hole plugs. So this isn't an actual color. What you do is you get a base that is mostly white, and I have them put in some KXL, 2 ounces, which is just white. That's a way to get a white and get more solids in your paint. When you add pigment, you get better coverage because it has more solid particles in it. I've masked off where the hinges go because the tolerance of the hinges to the door or the drawer, it's pretty tight, and I've used up just about all the play that I have, or that all the, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Everything's been sanded and dusted, blown out. I did mask off. This is where the bench is going to go, and again, there's no room for the thickness of the paint for that bench to go in and slide in and still get underneath this back panel and the bottom cabinet. So first thing is to get the pressure figured out. I got this piece of cardboard, and then I also have this big sheet of plywood if I need to. You got to turn the pressure up high enough so that you don't have this spray pattern with cat whiskers on the edges. So we've got one light coat on, and that's all you need for your first coat. It's kind of hard to hold myself back because I wanted to get more coverage. This here is getting white beadboard. I got to cut that panel out. I still have all these drawers and doors to paint. So these are all going to be sanded, and any filler that needs to be put on them, I'll do that also. Alright, I just sprayed the drawers and the back side of those two doors, and man, I think I may have put it on a little too heavy. You can see that shine. That's some wet paint. Obviously this surface won't sag, but I'm worried about, because this has a lot of flow control in it, or flow trawl from the factory. It's an 8-hour dry time. So this stuff, on a regular latex paint, this would already be setting up 15 minutes after, but with this cabinet paint, it's an enamel. It takes 8 hours in between coats. This was just a real light coat on this one. Oh, geez. And that one here. Nothing heavy on that. Next, I'm going to be putting the final coat on the actual cabinet system. to switch out the spray pattern. I'm going to use the black one because it's a much narrower fan. That went on a lot heavier because it's a condensed spray, so I had to dial back the amount of paint. Hopefully I don't get any runs. Looks really good. Now if I just don't get any runs, it'll be a miracle. This side went on pretty heavy. I don't know if you can see that sheen in there. Easily get a sag or a run on this piece here. So I had a few runs. They take a little bit to show up. Now the one thing I have working for me is about 90 degrees in here. And right here, we first need a high quality brush, and I wet it down and was vigilantly watching for them to show up. And what you do is you get a wet brush, and with this type of paint only, you can give it an upstroke. And because it has such a retarder in it, those brush lines will eventually wet out and disappear. Now something that I didn't mention in the first review of this spray gun, or the first kind of coat of this, is when you're done and you have leftover, you pour it back in to your bucket here. Well, now you put diluted amount of paint in there, so the percentages are all messed up. That's why it's good to have this viscosity cup. With this viscosity cup, I know that it takes 17 seconds, or slightly less, 15 to 17 seconds is what I'm shooting for the correct mixture. It's not an actual percentage of water to the paint, because it changes all the time. Every time you're done with a bunch of, a few coats, you got to do something with the paint, and you really don't need to throw it out. You just pour it back in here. Now, obviously, you can only do that so much. Once this reaches a full, the entire thing reaches a flow of 15 to 17 seconds. Well, then you don't need to mix it anymore. I don't know if that's obvious or not, but I thought I would mention that. I'm going to start with 16 ounces of paint. Dang it. This go around. Whatever. $11 seconds. So it's plenty thin. It's almost too easy. I'm going to lay these flat so I don't get any runs. So here it is in all of its glory. It's finally done. Now the next step is to take everything apart, put it in my pickup truck, drive it 30 minutes across town, reinstall it, and hope it looks this good once I get it there and installed.